getting started here. At this time, we'll call the Tuesday, November 18th meeting of the 2014 meeting of the Iredell County Board of Commissioners to order. And at this time, we'll have our invocation, and let's bow in prayer, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you again for this opportunity to ask you for wisdom and discernment. We thank you for this opportunity to serve you and to serve the folks of this county. We confess our sinfulness and our foolishness, and we ask that you would give us wisdom to do the right thing, that you would call our motives into question and help us to search our hearts in the pursuit of truth and the best decision. We pray for those in our county who are sick this evening, that you would heal them. We pray for everyone that is here and their willingness to come and be heard, and that you'd give them safe journey home. We ask these things in Christ's name. Amen. Stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this point, I'll call on our county manager, Mr. Ron Smith, for any adjustments to this agenda coming from the staff.
Mr. Chairman, I have no adjustments tonight.
Okay. Are there any adjustments to the agenda coming from any member of the board? Hearing none, the floor is open for a motion to adopt this agenda.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to adopt this agenda from Commissioner Griffith. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We'll proceed immediately to our public hearings. This time we'll declare this meeting to be in a public hearing in regard of the hearing for consideration of an economic development incentive for Project CHH presented by the Mocksville South Iredell Development Corporation Director Rob Carney. Mr. Carney, welcome, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners of the Iredell County, thank you so much for allowing me to come before you this evening. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Mocksville South Iredell Economic Development Corporation presenting Project CHH. Project CHH is a corporate headquarters project within the healthcare industry. The company is currently located and headquartered in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, is contemplating relocating its headquarters to Mooresville, North Carolina. If successful, the company would invest $6.5 million over the next 2 years in a new office facility off of Brawley School Road. The company currently employs 112 full-time employees and anticipates adding 200 back office employees over the next 5 years. Average salaries of those new jobs created will be over $55,000 per employee. On behalf of the Mooresville South Iredell Economic Development Corporation and Project CHH, we request economic development assistance be awarded in accordance with Iredell County's Economic Development Incentive Policy. Based on an increased tax value of $6.5 million, that incentive would equate to an amount not to exceed $25,220 per year for 5 years, totaling $126,100. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have at this time.
Are there any questions of Mr. Carney from any member of the board? Okay, thank you, Mr. Carney.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing, folks. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in regard to this matter? If so, come forward and state your name for the record, please. Hearing none, we'll declare this public hearing closed, and the floor is open for discussion or a motion at your pleasure.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve this request from Commissioner Griffith. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We'll declare this meeting to be in a public hearing for the consideration of an economic development incentive for Project Warm. This again will be presented by Mooresville South Iredell Economic Director, Rob Carney. Mr. Carney.
Mr. Chairman, thank you again for the opportunity to bring before you Project Warm. Project Warm is a new manufacturing project specializing in combustion engineering. This company serves the automotive, toy, and baking industries with their technology. The company is currently located in New Rochelle, New York, and is interested in relocating their operations into the Mooresville community. If successful, this company would invest $3 million in both facility purchase and machinery and equipment expansion. Their plan entails purchasing the 50,000 square foot facility at 225 Mooresville Boulevard within the Mooresville Business Park. The company would also create 45 full-time manufacturing jobs, paying wages over $60,000 per year. On behalf of the Mooresville South Iredell Economic Development Corporation and Project Warm, we request economic incentive assistance be awarded in accordance with the Iredell County's Economic Development Incentive Policy. Based on an increased tax value of $3 million, that incentive would equate to an amount not to exceed $11,640 per year for 5 years, totaling $58,200. Now, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have at this time.
Any questions of Mr. Carney from the board? Thank you, Mr. Carney.
Thank you.
Again, folks, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in regard to this matter? If you would, come forward and state your name for the record. Seeing none, we'll declare this public hearing closed, and the floor is open for a motion or discussion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Vice Chairman Norman. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Again, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We'll declare this meeting being a public hearing in regard to a request from ICATS to seek input about the application for the FTA 5310 grant and approval to accept funds. Mr. Dyke-Leather, welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good to be here. The 5310 grant is to provide transportation for elderly and disabled individuals in Iredell County, specifically in the rural area of the county. We're going to request a $200,000 grant. There's a 50% match. So $100,000 will come from the federal government. $100,000 would come from rote money that we get from the state. At this time, we are looking for public comment and then for your approval for us to apply and accept the grant funds.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Dyke-Leather? Okay. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in regard to this matter? If you would, come forward and state your name for the record. Okay, we'll declare this public hearing closed, and the floor is open for a motion.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Again, we'll declare this meeting to be in a public hearing. Request from ICATS to seek input about the application for the FTA 5311 grant and approval to accept funds. Mr. Dyke-Leather.
The 5311 grant is to provide administrative and capital costs for ICATS. It comes from the federal government. There's a state match as well as a local match involved. The local match will come from fund balance and some other grants that we get from the state. We're requesting a total amount of $727,777 from the FTA. The bulk of that money is going to be for vehicles. We have a lot of vehicles that are up for replacement. At this time, there's a mileage set by the federal government, so that's the reason the amount is so high this year compared to other years. Once again, we're asking for public input and for your approval to apply for and accept these funds.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Dyke-Leather? Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in regard to this matter? If you would, come forward and state your name for the record. If not, we'll declare this public hearing closed, and the floor is open for a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Griffith. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Will again declare this meeting to be in a public hearing in regard to a request from the Planning Department to consider rezoning 3.11 acres at 635 Mocksville Highway. Mr. Todd?
Good evening. We can get the screen to work. If not, you have the maps in your packet. Does not seem to be working tonight. Again, this is a request off Mocksville Highway to rezone 3.11 acres. It's in behind existing GB. This is a conditional request. Potential traffic impact should not come close to the road capacity, and therefore staff is recommending approval of this request. It's adjacent to rural commercial designation in the 2030 Horizon Plan. And if you look in your packet, you should see an aerial. It's in behind the existing John Deere dealership. There's a site plan attached. Around the perimeter of the properties, a 30-foot buffer will be required. This is mostly for storage of equipment. There is a possible proposed pole shed for equipment storage shown on the site plan. And I apologize for the pictures not showing up for you. This was, again, a conditional request, so there was a public meeting held on site, and the planning board did vote to recommend rezoning this property. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Todd? If not, is there anyone else who wishes to speak in regard to this matter? I have a couple of folks signed up here, Mr. Bedford Cannon and Mr. Andy Webster. You gentlemen like to address the board?
Thank you for allowing me to speak, ladies and gentlemen. What I can say is that my clients own the farm implement dealership that's immediately in front of this 3.11 acre tract. The idea here is to combine these two, and that this property will be transferred to the John Deere dealership. Business has been better, and as a result of business being better, there's a need for storage and an area to do work on farm implements and tractors and whatnot. This will, if you see fit to rezone this piece of property, it will probably result in a seven-figure increase in the sales that my client could realize from this particular piece of property. It'll be easy for them to, and the clients, to get in and out of this property. And it is already on two sides bound by commercial properties and fits nicely into the Horizon Plan, in the sense that it's fairly easy to see that this is, as time goes on, this is going to fit into a highway business that will run out Old Mocksville Road for Summer 64 for some length as the eastern part of Statesville grows, and I think that it will grow. So we hope that you'll see fit to allow us to do this. There are only five classifications that we ask for in all classifications for GB, and they directly relate to farm implement, farm sales, some repairs, but mainly storage and sales of implements and the tractors. And we hope business will get better and better if you see fit to allow us to expand. And the neighborhood, at least from what I've been able to see so far, is in favor of this, many of them being small business owners themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'll be happy, if I can answer any questions, I'll be happy to do so.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Cannon? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Webster.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Commissioners, as Chief of the Cool Springs Fire Department, Ideal Tractor has been a very good neighbor to us, and we was here to voice our effort to say we hope you approve this for them because they've been a good to the fire service of Iredell County. And that's all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else who wishes to speak? If not, we'll declare the public hearing closed and the floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this rezoning as requested.
Okay. Have a motion to approve this rezoning request from Commissioner Robertson. Any discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry. I've got to read the
You're right.
official part.
Thank you.
My mistake. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend in favor of the zoning map amendment and to advise that though it is inconsistent with Iredell County 2030 Horizon Plan, it is reasonable and in the public interest because the expansion of an existing farm services business is in harmony with the surrounding area. It is consistent with past rezoning cases in the area, and the request is conditional and site plan specific.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All in favor of Mr. Robertson's motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Matthew's going to try and restart everything, if that's okay.
Okay, that's fine. We'll take just a moment.
It has a countdown for another minute before I can hit the restart button.
Yes. Well, we'll save these folks a whole lot of time. Okay, thank you. Okay. Folks, if I could have your attention just please while we got a moment here. I know a lot of you came here in particular interest to the release of ETJ on memo number 7, request from the Planning Division to consider release of zoning and subdivision jurisdiction for Richard Howard with Lane Tree Plantation South. I was just handed a note where that petition for release of ETJ has been withdrawn, so it will not be heard tonight. Help me out, Mr. Smith, can they?
Mr. Howard has said he's going to withdraw it tonight so they can hold a community meeting to talk about future plans.
Pardon? Wait just a minute. Sir, let this lady finish her discourse with the county manager then.
Well, I think that what that means is that for tonight, we're not going to be hearing the request. And that what the Howards, my understanding is that they're going to hold a community meeting and invite those in the community to talk about what their intentions are for the property. And that's really all we know at this point. We had every intention of hearing this tonight, and this was just submitted to us before the meeting. So I would suggest waiting for something from Mr. Howard or potentially getting in touch with him.
So in essence, it comes down to when
Thanksgiving and Christmas time period. I can't speak to that. I got a handwritten note before the meeting just saying that, or asking that this be pulled from the agenda so a meeting could be held.
Okay, to set everybody. That would have to be at his pleasure, ma'am. I can't compel him.
When will this come back before the commissioners again?
I can't sit here and tell you it will or it won't, sir.
Correct.
Folks, I'm trying to maintain order here. Just a second.
Chairman, Mr. Howard is here. Perhaps he'd like to speak.
I can ask him if he would like, sir. I cannot compel him to do so.
I understand. I think I would be here.
Would you like to speak, Mr. Howard? Okay. Come to the podium, please, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity. I feel like there was just way too much misinformation out there that we were going at the direction of what we were being told by the county in this process. We're not looking to rezone the property. It's residential agriculture right now. The zoning that we would be asking for would be the equivalent same thing in Mooresville, but we just felt that by going into Mooresville, we could put roads, water, and sewer in, where in the county, we can't put curb and guttering in the project. We can't do the environmentally sound things. We're not looking to build condominiums. We're not looking to build a motocross or anything like that. The zoning would go back, the way I understand it, to the town of Mooresville, which would allow us to put curb and guttering in and water and sewer instead of septic tanks. In the county, they don't use water and sewer, so therefore they don't have any zoning that allows for it. So the zoning that we're going to ask for would be R2. Right now it's RA. And if you would look at the RA in the county of what you could build there, I think everyone should take time to do that, because you would be surprised. For those who aren't aware, we're also doing the Langtree Plantation, which is preserving 17 acres of land across the street that there won't be 50 homes built on with septic tanks. We're trying to preserve the heritage of the community there and create a sense of community that's been there for over 167 years. This property adjoins that property. The homes that would be built on this property right now would be $450,000 to $750,000. There would be 26 homes there, one every half acre, which is Bridgeport is 4 per acre. So we're not trying to build a high density. We're trying to improve the community, protect the values of everybody around. If it would fall in the wrong hands, you could have another motocross for those that live in that area. We could have one. We could go down there tomorrow and it could be a racetrack there and be in the county and there's no issue. So what we're trying to do is protect. We have enormous amount of investment in the area. We're trying to protect the values for you and for us, trying to put in the right density. Something's going to happen. It's not we got ours and nobody else is going to get anything. I grew up on that road, and if I'd taken that position, half this room probably wouldn't be here today. We built the first home on Gudger Road on Langtree Peninsula back in '62. My parents did. And Bridgeport was nothing there. The wastewater plant was not there. There's been a lot of change. Keene's Landing wasn't there. Knoxview wasn't there. None of those things were there. We embrace bringing people to the community. If we hadn't and said, I got mine and nobody else, who cares? A lot of people wouldn't be living there now. But we have an opportunity there today to do something nice. 26 homes, starting price $450 to $475 up to $750. You can't afford to build anything less than that because of the value of the property. So I just wanted to take the time, because I've heard condominiums, I've heard, my goodness, I don't know what. We're not looking to rezone the property. It is RA now. You could build chicken houses, mobile homes, race car tracks, whatever. It's RA. That'd be the worst thing in the world to happen. We have, municipal water and sewer. We have it. We currently have it. We currently have it with Aqua. They're public utility. The infrastructure is not private. It is owned by Aqua Utilities.
What is it about this property that's any different than our property that requires the town of Mocksville to be involved?
It's the stormwater in the county, the current zoning, because the county doesn't have water and sewer. So there's no.
Excuse me, Mr. Howard.
Let's do this. In the interest of time, I don't think we're going to resolve this tonight. This is migrating toward this community meeting that Mr. Smith alluded to before, and I don't think, quite frankly, this is the proper venue for that. So I'm going to offer a motion that this issue will not be on the agenda again before the county commissioners before the first meeting in January.
That's fair, and we'd love
and that will give
to
you
set a
folks
meeting
adequate.
up at a bad time.
Just a minute, I'm not through. We will not hear it until at least the first meeting in January. And after that time, it would be up to planning staff, Mr. Howard and his group meeting with you folks, resolving these issues if possible. And then coming, if he wishes another appearance for this board, the earliest it will be heard will be the first meeting in January. And that ought to give you ample time to resolve some of these issues, if they can be reconciled, and preclude any further discussion tonight, and give these folks who have to travel over the holidays ample time to get back in town and be aware of what's going on. So I offer that motion. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries unanimously.
I voted no.
Okay.
There was a no vote.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, when is your first meeting in January? It'll be the first Monday in January. What day is that?
First Tuesday.
First Tuesday, I'm sorry.
First Tuesday.
January 6th.
First Tuesday,
First Tuesday in January.
January 6th.
January 6th.
Ron, I have a question. I was out of the room, so tell me again what happened. There was a note passed to you pulling this request off the agenda tonight.
Right there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but what I don't think is right, that this is the second time that this has happened, and so the pulse was taken of the board, in my opinion. These people came tonight to voice their opinion, and I don't think it's right that this was pulled like this. This is not right. I know it's their legal right to pull it, but what I'm worried about is this is not right for these people to come like this and not be heard. And basically, Mr. Howard gets up and says what he has to say, and these people are sitting down and don't have a voice at all. That's not right, Ron.
Well, it may be, though, that they can resolve the issues between now and the time it subsequently comes back.
The problem is the way the democracy works is they bring a request before the board. These people have a right at a public hearing to be heard, and we vote on an action.
But we
can't take an opinion of the board before the meeting and then go tell Mr. Howard to pull it off the agenda.
Look,
so this doesn't happen. That's not right. That's not what our job is here to serve the public to do. It's not right. The motion's been passed. But I hope you fill up the room again when you have a public hearing about it, because it's not right for what just happened to happen. And that's nothing against the Howards, but the process is the process. And you came tonight with no warning it's going to be canceled. And the reason it was pulled for you was because the pulse of the board, in my opinion, was not in their favor. So I hope you come back and voice your opinion again, because what happened tonight is not right. Thank you.
Okay, what next? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say, when he is saying he's reporting it to have a community meeting, that he sent letters to everybody in each of those communities telling them when and where this is, because not notifying all the people that are going to be affected by this, it's pointless to have a meeting if he doesn't tell everybody who will be affected when and where the meeting will be held.
I agree with you, but we have no control over that. I agree with what you're saying. The next time you need to be here, it'll be publicly announced. There'll be a hearing here. This is where you need to be.
Mr. Todd, is there any way where you could help facilitate some type of neighborhood meeting for these folks?
What I'd recommend is I'll give Mr. Howard some paper, and as everyone leaves, if they would just put their contact information on there, and then he can at least get in contact with you about the meeting. And then also, I'd recommend that he try to post the property, not with our yellow sign, but a different sign maybe stating the meeting. And then it's up to the community to spread the word to other people that you might know. And that's fine, and that's how it should work. So that's what I would recommend.
Okay.
We sent letters to all the homeowner associations, and told them this meeting was going on. We show up, and now you tell us it's canceled because he withdrew the note.
Ma'am,
That's not right.
it's his prerogative to do that.
You said that's okay. He's still winning. We're all losers because he's winning.
It's his prerogative. Ma'am, I understand. Action has been taken. It will not be heard before January the 6th. Okay? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Have a good holiday.
Okay.
You have to do what you feel you have to do, but I don't like a riot, and I've been on the other end of it, Gene. It's not very much. There is a sense of decorum and. Tell Jim that now I love him back. We haven't done 6.
We have not done 6. You ready, Mr. Todd? I believe we're down to memo 6. We'll declare this meeting to be in a public hearing in regard to a request from the Planning Division to consider a release of zoning and subdivision jurisdiction for William Fanjoy with Joy Acre Farms Limited. Mr. Todd?
Okay. Yes, the request at this point is for another release of jurisdiction in Statesville's jurisdiction for Fanjoy Road, off of Fanjoy Road. This is a 184.19 acre tract. The land use plan calls for this area to be an employment center, industrial flex. Again, this is a release that would put the jurisdiction into Statesville. This is a property that's being marketed for industrial purposes, and it does fit the plan.
All right. Any questions from Mr. Todd? All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in regard to this matter? I have a number of people here who it looks like have signed up. I'll call your name. You wish to speak, come forward, please. Jerry and Mary Lou Berryhill. Wayne and Betty, I believe that's Salmons, okay. Robert and Diane Lambert, Jeff Lambert, Leslie McCoy, Tim Williams, Carl Aiken, Matt Ashberger, Stephen Messick, and Eric Lambert. If you folks would approach the podium. Would you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Mary Lou Berry Hill. I live at 314 Fanjoy Road. The property does border against our property. I'm a little concerned because I don't know what our property values, how they will be affected. Sorry. I don't know how the property values will be affected. We've lived there for 21 years. We have wildlife that comes through that property and comes across our property. I don't know what will happen to them in the case of an industrial plant going in. I'm not opposed to industries per se. I'm just wondering how close they will be to our property. We have, some of that property goes in front of our property, so if anything's built right there, we wouldn't be able to see our neighbors across the road. So that kind of concerns me a little bit. Other than that, I'm just, those are my concerns as of right now. So, Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, ma'am.
We got two different letters. One that said it was zoned as commercial, and the other said it was zoned, what was it here? Subdivision. Now, which one's it going to be? I mean, we got two different letters in the mail.
Can you speak to that, Mr. Todd?
Possibly. First, I'd like to just remind everyone that the zoning on the property is not changing. The release of jurisdiction is basically, it becomes jurisdiction that the city has control over the zoning on. So if the applicant property owner requests a rezoning to an industrial district in the future, they would be coming back through a public hearing with the city board, city planning board, and city council. So again, it's not changing the zoning at this time, not changing anybody's zoning adjacent to it. But the release is for the zoning and subdivision jurisdiction. Both of those items are basically folded into one, and they're both being released to the city, or is the proposed.
All right, now why is that to the city? Because we're out of the city lines.
Correct. This is not, it will not become part of the city limits at this time. It's only being released for the zoning jurisdiction. And as you can see on the map, the city does have a lot of jurisdiction in that area. It's this crosshatched area. And most likely this property, if developed, will develop with water and sewer from the city. Therefore, the city's going to require that it become in their jurisdiction. They would not service it if it stays in the county's zoning and subdivision jurisdictions.
You know, what kind of time frame is on this?
I'm not aware of any time frame for development of this property.
Okay. You have anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Wayne and Betty Salmons, are they here? Robert and Diane Lambert, would you care to speak? Jeff Lambert?
I guess my questions go back, to what the variables we're talking about. Why is there the confusion of subdivision versus industrial? I mean, is it they can't make up their mind what they want to do with it? And the other thing is, what's the city of Statesville need another industrial park that sits empty with as many empty buildings we got already? I mean, you're already looking at land on Mocksville Highway or out past Davis Hospital for industrial park. And we've got plenty of land in Iredell County that has empty buildings everywhere. So I'm just trying to see what's the need to move into a rural community and cluster it up with a bunch of tractor and trailers and stuff in a dead-end road.
Okay. Leslie McCoy?
Thank you. I also live on the road, as with the other people back here, and that's my concern as well. That is a rural road. There is not a lot of traffic that comes down through there, and that would be a traffic cluster if we got any kind of subdivision or any kind of industrial park. That where the landfill is down that road, there's a stop sign right there at the edge of my house that no trucks stop at. You can come to my road and count how many trucks stop at that stop sign, and maybe 1 out of 10 stop there. That would be just a catastrophe to me for the traffic to come down through there on that one rural road. That is my biggest concern. And just like my fiance, there's empty buildings all over the city of Statesville and in the county where this could be done and keep the rural community the rural community. Thank you.
Tim Williams. Carl Aiken.
Yes, I live down there. I've been living down there over 30 years, right down below where the Twin Oaks Road turns in. And the reason I moved there is because it used to be more or less a family-oriented road. We know the Fanjoys, the Harmons. There's a lot of families in there that's consistent the reason that they moved there. I live right across the street, adjusted to this place. I don't need all this noise at night. I have trouble sleeping at night anyway. I don't get a lot of sleep, and I work at a plant just a half a mile up from there, Merchant Metals. And when we run second shift, I can hear them beating, banging up there at night and dropping stuff. And if I'm going to get one right across the street, I might as well just move, because I don't need all that traffic. My wife runs a daycare, and I don't need all that traffic going in and out there. And it's very concerning to me that you have a pond down there that you're going to have to run, or you can't stop running water. I know that. So what are you going to do with that 4 or 5 acre pond down there? And like you say, there's a lot of wildlife runs up down through there. We don't kill them. We let them run free. And I can stand by that door and shoot deer. I can shoot squirrels all day long. I don't choose to do that. They go over to the pond, drink water, come back. And, you know, I worked 30 years building that place up around my house. I don't need it destroyed. So please take that into consideration.
Thank you, sir. Matt Ashberger.
Good evening. My name is Matt Ashbrenner. I live at 370 Fanjoy Road. Of course, my feelings are a lot like these guys here. My concerns for the proposed development there is a pond, there is a lake there, and if you build many industrial buildings there, or you have different companies that come in there to produce products, that drainage goes towards that pond, travels right behind most of our houses in a very small creek, and then goes into, what is it? Is it Fourth Creek? Fourth Creek, and that runs right past the water treatment facility off Bell Farm Road. We have a lot of trucks that come down Fanjoy. It is a dead-end road past Twin Oaks, or what is it? Yeah, Twin Oaks, that miss the Merchant Metals or the, is it Leggett? They come past there. They miss the stop sign. They don't have a place to turn around. They come down our road. I can't even count how many times I've had to help truckers. They want to back up, but I tell them that there's a turnaround, but it is very small. It's down by the Statesville Trust Company. It's not meant for a truck turnaround. Leslie's right. There, you can't. You can sit there. Sometimes I wish there would be a police officer that would sit there and watch how many people actually stop for the stop sign. A lot of them don't even check up at all. It's more of a 15-mile-an-hour yield or a cruise through. Excuse me. Where that stop sign is, there are, say, 8 to 10 disabled folks that live there. It's a group home. A lot of times they're out walking around. Sometimes they're not supposed to be out walking around. We walk our dogs up and down that road. I have 5 kids. They walk up and down the road. We have hay rides up and down our road. Whether it's industrial, whether it's residential, it doesn't fit there. And I ask you guys to please consider that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Stephen Messick. You wish to speak? Eric Lambert. Is there anyone else who did not sign up who wishes to speak? If you would come forward and state your name for the record, please. Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and the floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I think Mike Smith is,
okay.
He raised his hand. I don't know if you
Okay,
saw
I'm
it.
sorry. Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly appreciate the comments that we've heard tonight about the neighborhood and the character. I guess one of the things that we would want to remind folks is there is a major highway there. There's rail there. There's significant infrastructure there to continue looking at other industrial options. I think one of the things that we certainly want to keep in mind in terms of building our community into an even better place is creating new jobs for people and also creating new investment. I mean, that's a positive way to continue to have our community grow. I think one of the things that Statesville Regional Development has tried to do is talk about how bringing in new companies is a positive overall. One of the things that we've talked about over time is even with existing industrial parks that we have and where they are in several places close to existing residential neighborhoods, things can work out well over time. So certainly I appreciate the comments that were made, but I do think that in terms of trying to consistently grow this area in a positive way, and in particular in that part of Statesville, again, when you look at the existing infrastructure with the highway, the rail, the water, sewer, gas that is already there, the businesses that are already there, I think that's a very good place for Statesville to continue to grow versus maybe other parts of the county that don't have that infrastructure already in place. So in terms of good jobs, good investment, and responsible use of taxpayers' money, we believe that area is poised for growth over the coming years.
Can I ask Mr. Smith a question? Sure. So, Mr. Smith, some of the folks who spoke here tonight mentioned that there were other buildings in the county that were vacant, and so why would you want to have a new industrial park as opposed to just use existing buildings? Could you address that, please?
Thank you for that question, Commissioner. I would say, first of all, in that particular area, when you look at the Statesville Business Park, that business park is almost built out. There's one site left there of 44 acres. And I think somebody mentioned the new city industrial park. That was a positive thing to mention. That is also a good opportunity for Statesville to grow. At the same time, the way that particular property lays, although it's 134 acres, it's actually only probably 5 smaller buildable sites. So again, it's a new opportunity, but not big enough for larger companies. In terms of the existing buildings that are out there, I think, unfortunately, Statesville and in lots of places in North Carolina, and lots of places around America, for that matter, have vacant industrial buildings. In our part of North Carolina in particular, with the furniture industry, with textiles, some of those types of buildings that 30 years ago made a lot of sense for those particular industries, today, unfortunately, a lot of modern manufacturing is looking for buildings with higher ceilings and wider open spaces. And also the unfortunate fact is that still to this day, typically to go into one of the existing buildings that may have 10 or 12-foot ceilings and maybe segmented, it is more expensive to go in and upfit that building than just build a new building on a site somewhere else. So we continue to see that as a challenge, even though there are certainly other spaces that are available in terms of some of the modern manufacturing opportunities that we're looking for. There are really not as many as you would think.
And then on this particular site, you mentioned that the one near Davis Hospital, you said there's probably about five sites on that?
Yes, sir. We are still looking at that in terms of having the engineering studies done.
Okay.
Again, the way it lays, there's technically 134 acres there, but with the way the property lays and the streams, it's not one big contiguous tract.
Certainly. And I mean, I just kind of pulled up and looked, on Google Earth, the aerial photo of the plot of this property that's in question, and there's a pond with a dam on it in the center, and I mean, so I know the Department of Environment and Natural Resources doesn't let you divert streams and all that kind of good stuff. So, given that you do have some water on the property that you will have to deal with, how many sites would you anticipate would be generated from this particular property if it does get converted to an industrial park?
Again, that varies, and we would certainly rely on engineering and geotechnical studies to determine that. In a lot of cases, it's anywhere from roughly 50 to 60% of a site that could be developable. And again, it just depends. And certainly with that water feature in the middle, we would, that would certainly remain.
But I would say with the pond in the middle, would you say that it's probably unlikely that there would be like one big massive factory in the center of this?
Correct.
Just because the water's in the center of it.
Correct.
So it'd probably be probably smaller sites?
That's highly likely. That's a good question. And I would say, in terms of looking at the development potential, if you look at the way the Statesville Business Park has developed,
Mm-hmm.
You don't have one 400,000 square foot facility. You have 3 or 4 buildings anywhere from 50 to 100,000 feet.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. If you would come to the podium, please.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. The other thing that I forgot to mention was that if you recall, the 80 acres that's across the road from the county landfill is now going to become a bicycle park. It's 80 acres, 5.5 miles. You want to tie that into the greenway and all that stuff. You're going to have added traffic from this thing and then also possible bicyclists up and down Twin Oaks, Greenbrier, Fanjoy as a potential hazard. Kids, families out there. I'm all for growth, believe me. That's why I moved here. I like this county. I like this city. I'm all for it. Why don't they just tear the old buildings down? The ones that don't meet code, the ones that they don't have high enough ceilings. Otherwise, they're just an eyesore for any potential business that comes down the road. If we just got a bunch of empty buildings that nobody wants, then all it keeps doing is just growing out. Why don't we just take care of what we have already? In this jurisdiction, this makes us part of the city limits. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. The release of the jurisdiction would give the city zoning jurisdiction. The city at some point would have to choose to annex it.
Okay.
In all likelihood, they probably would annex it, though, to be perfectly honest about it.
Right. No, and like I said, my concern is also with that, that pond. You're going to have cars parked in there that they lake oil, and the rainwater comes down and rushes down there, goes into all the creeks and streams and all that stuff. But I guess that's it. That's all I have.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else who wishes to speak before we close the public hearing? Okay, we'll try again. We'll declare this public hearing closed, and the floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to approve the request for release of zoning and subdivision jurisdiction to the City of Statesville by Joy Acres Farm LTD.
Okay, any discussion on that motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
Motion carries 4-1. Number 7.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
May I make a comment? Or no?
Yeah.
Okay. I just, before you guys leave, I just want to thank you for the respectful way that you all handled the public meeting here. It's my last meeting as a commissioner, and I always appreciate it when the citizens respect the process and do it with dignity. I appreciate that. And this is probably one of the few places where you can actually look the people who are going to make the decisions in the eye. Our phone numbers are on the webpage, the county webpage, and I encourage the citizens that if they have concerns about what they see in county government, our addresses are listed, our places of businesses are listed, as well as our phone numbers. You can get a hold of us and talk to us and come see us. It's a wonderful process, but I just really want to thank you guys for the respect that you had towards these proceedings, even though it didn't go the way that you wanted. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Griffith. Let these folks clear out here. We'll declare this meeting being a public hearing in regard to requests from the Planning Division to consider release of zoning and subdivision jurisdiction for the town of Mooresville. Mr. Todd?
Okay, again, this request is another release of jurisdiction. I'll state it again. This is does not affect the city limits for Mooresville. This is just the jurisdiction for zoning and subdivision development. It does not impact any of the adjacent properties, but there is a total of 87 parcels that would be moved from the county's zoning and subdivision jurisdiction to the town's zoning and subdivision jurisdiction. It's approximately 153 acres, and the driving force behind this request from the town of Mooresville is the connector road that is currently under construction between Cornelius Road and Mazeppa Road. That's a project that started, I believe, last month, and it's to connect the industrial park to multiple ways of accessing the interstate. The release will give Mooresville the jurisdiction for development that occurs along that connector road, where most likely they will service in the near future.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Todd? Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in regard to this matter? If you would, come forward and state your name for the record. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. My name is Jack Church. I live at 2255 Charlotte Highway. This rezoning will affect my property. I tried to call the lady and try to get an explanation of what it means to me. I'm assuming that the county is considering turning the property over to the city of Mooresville to do what they want to do with it. Is that a correct statement?
To a degree, the request is to surrender the county would surrender zoning jurisdiction to the town of Mooresville. Mr. Todd, you jump in here and correct me anywhere you think I'm wrong, but if you as a property owner would then come under the zoning jurisdiction of Mooresville, if you wanted to change the use of your property, you would have to petition the city of Mooresville rather than the county of Iredell.
Correct, yes, sir. I understand that, but it said subdivision. There won't be any room for any subdivisions. What it looks at on the map in this blue area here, and I'm the next to the last house down at the bottom, as far as subdivisions, are they planning on building a subdivision within this 153-acre tract?
No, sir.
Or are they just wanting to give it to the town of Mooresville to rezone it?
Again, the phrasing on the subdivision and the zoning, those are separate documents typically, but they go hand in hand. So there is no proposed subdivisions out here at this time. But if a property owner decided to subdivide their land, whether it be into 2 lots or 20 lots, that review is going to go through the town of Mooresville if this property is released. So again, there's nothing planned. Again, as far as the zoning of the property, if you're currently zoned residential and it's released, Mooresville will assign a residential district to you. If you're currently zoned neighborhood business or highway business, you're going to be assigned a similar zoning from Mooresville. If any property owner requests to change their zoning, they would have to go to Mooresville and request it. Mooresville's not going to change anyone's zoning from what it currently is.
Okay, so would I be, if the board approves this, to give this parcel of land to the city of Mooresville for zoning, would that automatically make me have to pay city taxes, which I do not now?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
Has nothing to do with that.
No, you're not being annexed into the city.
City and the sewer and the water is on the other side of the street from me. So that's going to stay. So the city of Mooresville will just be the governed body on what happens to this land going down the road instead of the county. Is that, I guess this is what this means.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So my next question, and I'll close with this, is the county more stricter, or is the city of Mooresville more strict in far as allowing people to do whatever they want to do with their land, as far as building convenience store right next to me, or
Town of Mooresville.
I would say, Mooresville's more strict.
Yeah, I'd say it's a pretty safe statement to say that the town of Mooresville is more restrictive as far as what you can do on your property than the county is.
Okay, because I have been to the hearing down on Highway 21 that said that our parcel of land is currently residential, but it will be reevaluated and improved to go residential/light industry. And that light industry means that somebody could come in and build a metal shop or a convenience store or anything of that nature, I would assume is what that means. What does light residential zoning mean?
Light, or you mean light industrial?
Light industrial, I'm sorry.
not exactly sure what that means in Mooresville zoning jurisdiction, but it would, in ours, it would be light manufacturing. You wouldn't see smokestacks and a great deal of heavy industry there. You'd probably see some assembly. There may be some manufacturing from raw materials, but it wouldn't be anything very aggressive.
Okay. But the main thing is, the city would come in when they build that subdivision right across the street from me, which is already approved. They're going to build 153 houses on 50 acres of land. Will the DOT, who will make a decision on where the turns lane will be?
I would assume.
And will there be curbing on both sides of the road? That will be in my front yard. My front doorstep is only 62 feet from the Highway 21 now. So I guess my next question is, does the DOT determine that as far as the turn lanes for this big subdivision that's going across the street from me? I know it's not part of this agenda here, but it's a question that I have yet to be answered.
I feel sure the DOT would be the one that require that, wouldn't it, Mr. Todd?
Well, yes, and I imagine Mooresville, one of their requirements is going to be some type of traffic analysis. So something's if it's not been done yet.
It's already been done.
I would imagine, and something from that is going to help DOT determine what type of turn lanes and where they'd be required.
Okay. All right. So once it's determined, will they build curbing on my side of the road, or will they just build it on the development side of the road? Do y'all know that?
I can't answer
no.
that.
No idea? Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for
Yes,
your
sir.
time.
Thank you.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Anyone else who wishes to speak would come to the podium, please. State your name.
Is Glory Road included in your jump, what you're trying to do now?
Yes.
So what you planning on doing in Glory Road?
There's no plans for Glory Road. It would be up to the individual property owners to decide to do something. And if they did, they would go to Mooresville to find out what the zoning regulations are, if this is approved. If it was not approved and they decide to do something, they come to the county to try to find out what they can do with their property. But again, there's no plans to do anything to Glory Road. It's going to be up to the
But
individual property owner.
this is my property here, and you plan on taking Mazeppa and Cornelius Road, half of my property, without asking me? You cannot take my property to connect Cornelius Road.
They're not taking your property if they've already got the right of way in place. So I'm guessing that they're going around the south of your property.
They got the right of way in place where?
You can see it here on the map.
I live down here on Glory Road, and half of my property come down Adventure Lane. Adventure Lane runs, at the end of Adventure Lane, running to the end of my property. I didn't give y'all permission to do anything.
You would have been, if the right of way was affecting your property, Mooresville would have been in touch with you already.
Y'all don't ask nobody nothing anyway. Y'all just go ahead and take it. Y'all don't ask. Y'all take. And this is my property. My grandmother on Glory Road, she got 8 acres. She bought that property working for the white folk, 50 cents a week, 50 cents a day. You cannot take something when you wasn't even born. We've been on Glory Road for 65 years. You cannot take something you ain't even earned. The county, the state, whoever cannot take something they didn't earn. Glory Road is nothing but old people. Leave it alone. If you want Cornelius to be built, go somewhere else. Leave Glory Road and Adventure Lane alone. My property alone.
It's not affecting Glory Road.
Okay, one more time. Adventure Lane. The end of Adventure Lane runs into the tail end of my property.
And the right of ways to the south of Adventure Lane. On the south side of Adventure Lane.
What I'm saying is, if y'all want to connect Cornelius Road to an industrial area, go somewhere else. Leave us alone. We've been there for 65 and 70-some years. Go somewhere else. We're family. We're old. We're too old to start over. I am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? If there's no one else, we'll declare this meeting, this public hearing closed, and the floor is open for a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Yes, sir. That's all right.
What's the benefit of the county turning this property over to the city of Mooresville? What does the county get in return from the city of Mooresville?
I can't sit here in good faith and say there's any immediate concern. The long-term transportation plan is for a direct link from what is now Mazeppa Road in the Mooresville industrial area to create a thoroughfare from there out Cornelius Road and eventually an interchange at I-77.
I've already talked to DOT about that, and he said that's not on the agenda, and that's for the next 10 years.
Well, now, in a meeting in Mooresville, and Mr. Robertson, you were there, trying to think when that was.
Probably about 5-6 months ago at least.
Yeah. What we were encouraged by at that time by Mr. Mike Holder with the DOT was Mooresville had already begun the design phase for the connector road. And we had encouraged the governor in his visit to Mooresville, and at that time Speaker Tillis, to come forward with some money and assist in funding the connector road. Subsequent to that, they agreed to do that. Then we had a subsequent meeting with Mr. Holder, and we encouraged him to advance in the transportation improvement plan as fast as he could an interchange at Cornelius Road and I-77. He said what would accelerate that process if they could go and convince the DOT commissioners on the board of DOT that there was an ongoing relationship and cooperation between the governing jurisdiction to facilitate this effort. And he said if he had evidence of that ongoing cooperation over a period of time, it would accelerate that possibility. Now, understanding that once you get on the TIP plan, it is still several years until anything is funded, because I think they had like, what, $8 billion worth of projects and $2 billion worth of money. Mr. Holder expressed with some degree of confidence that it could be on the plan by 2019. Now, that is not binding. That's just his best estimate, given the level of funding and given the priorities for this, I believe, the 12th Transportation District.
My concern is that this is my old home place. I was born there and raised there, lived there all my life. And the connector road coming in from Mazeppa over to Cornelius, I understand that has to happen.
Right.
But I've been working with Stephen Bridges with the DOT. He's been very, very nice to me. I've been talking with him for 3 or 4 weeks now. And he did tell me this past week there was nothing on the agenda for an exit at Cornelius Road in the next 10 years. My concern is, why are they building this connector road from Mazeppa to Cornelius, and then no plans in the next 10 years to start another exit down there at Cornelius Road when it's needed right now, not 10 years from now?
Sir, you'd have to talk to the DOT about that. You know, I can't, all I can do is plead. I can't.
Oh, I understand. It's just, I'm just letting you know my frustration, because I live there and I hear the traffic and I see everything, and everything is changing. But we're allowing it to change. Are we allowing it to change for the best? Are we or are we not? Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Okay. There's no one else. We'll declare this public hearing closed, and the floor is open for a motion.
I made a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve this request from Commissioner Halp. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. And we have one more public hearing. We'll declare this meeting to be in a public hearing in regard to request from the Planning Division to consider a request to apply the municipal growth overlay along Cornelius Road from I-77 to the Charlotte Highway. Mr. Todd?
Okay, this request is to establish an overlay along Cornelius Road. And an overlay, in essence, is an additional zoning layer on top of the existing zoning. The overlay does not change any current zoning along Cornelius Road. Again, it just puts an additional zoning layer on top. With the additional zoning layer of the overlay comes 3 requirements. So there's 3 additional requirements that would be proposed for this area in the overlay. Those requirements essentially are that if Mooresville would require curb and gutter, then curb and gutter development's going to be required. If they would require sidewalks, then sidewalks would be required. And if, depending on the development, the stormwater control requirements from Mooresville would need to be followed. So again, those are the only 3 additional requirements to what the current zoning out there already has in place. You've got a fair amount of residential zoning out there at this time. You do have some industrial and some commercial as well. All those areas will be staying whatever they're currently zoned. For the overlay, the jurisdiction stays with the county. So any land development, if a rezoning is required, it comes through the county's planning board and through this board. If it's development that's allowed by right, it would come through review in our office, and depending on what it is, we would possibly contact Mooresville to see about those 3 requirements that I covered. And this does basically extend from Charlotte Highway to just west of the interstate. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I've got 2 questions for you, Mr. Todd. I want to make sure that I get to ask these questions you can answer as succinctly as possible. Is anyone's property tonight going to be rezoned?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there any zoning jurisdiction being granted to the town of Mooresville this evening?
Not with this request.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Todd? All right. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone? Yeah. If you would come forward and state your name for the record, please.
My name is John Kinley. My question to Mr. Todd is, this overlay, when it's put in place, it's not going to kill the utility on each side of the road. We've been through this before with overlay districts where they go through with the overlay and they say that the land on each side of the right-of-way can be extended even further, and they say it has no utility. And then what happens is when the property owner goes to, or when they come in to widen the road, the DOT comes along and says that area has no value because it has no utility. I want to make sure that we don't kill utility and value of people's property here tonight along Cornelius Road.
The overlay, this overlay will have no impact on affecting the right-of-way for Cornelius Road or any other right-of-way utilities. It does not have an impact. Again, it's just those 3 requirements.
Are you guys satisfied with that? Because we've seen this before. We've seen Mooresville do this on Williamson Road, Highway 150. They came through with their overlay. Then when the DOT comes to buy the property to widen it, they say, hey, look, that has no value. It was tried on Brawley School Road. I want to protect the citizens out there that own that private property, and when DOT comes to widen the road, I want them to get their money.
What did they do on Brawley School Road to protect it?
Brawley, we stopped it. Ron Smith was the planning director at that time, and we had a group of property owners come down and said, hey, we don't want this overlay district on Brawley School Road, and it didn't happen. They did it on Williamson Road. Mooresville did it on Williamson Road and Highway 150 in their jurisdiction. And I'd rather, I'd rather you take the property than let me not have any utility and continue to pay the taxes on it. So I want to make sure that this is not an overlay just like Mooresville came through with and the county was supporting on Brawley School Road. You remember that, Ron? And we had all the property owners came in and we said, hey, and one of the planning staff members said, all you could do is put parking spaces in there. They're of no value. Well, parking spaces are pretty valuable along commercial property on commercial quarters. And this property here on Cornelius Road could become pretty valuable if the interchange comes in. But I don't want the city of Mooresville or the county paving the way for DOT to keep from paying property owners what they deserve for their own private property.
Well, when you say, though, Mr. Kenley, it would diminish the utility of the property, explain that to me. I've been doing this a while. I'm not sure I understand.
Well, when they did the overlay in Mooresville, what they did, Ron, do you want to speak to this?
If I'm remembering everything correctly, basically that was an overlay that had a component in there that basically reserved, and it was different between the county and the town, but reserved right-of-way basically to keep development from occurring within an expanded right-of-way along, let's say, Brawley School Road, in an effort to not limit or impede DOT when they're coming through to purchase. So Mr. Kenley's right. You know, it does diminish the value, but if you remember on Brawley and what's going to happen on 150, when you have development that takes place in that expanded right-of-way where the state is coming in to try and obtain that property and it's already developed upon, that causes them problems. So it's, you know, it's kind of a balancing act, and in that case, you know, it was determined that the overlay was not to go in place. So does that answer your question, Mr. Chairman?
I think so. So what the overlay did on 150, Williamson Road, and they attempted to do on Brawley was to limit any construction in what would be the future right-of-way?
Basically, yes. Other than minimal crossings such as the driveway, some parking, you know, roadway buffers, things of that nature. Didn't diminish it entirely, but prohibited structures and anything significant from taking place, which is definitely not the case.
Why we put the why we're doing it is to let people be on notice. These corridors are going to get widened. You know, I mean, how many times have we heard somebody say, you know, gee, my house is, or my business is X number of feet from the road. I mean, the whole purpose of having these plans is to say, if you're going to buy this property, just know that one day we do plan to add lanes, so don't build that close.
Well, that's part's fine, and making the developer adhere to a future right-of-way, I don't have a problem with. But the overlays have taken that utility away. They've told them that before DOT gets there, that property has no value. They've expanded on the overlay, expanded over and beyond the right-of-way, the actual right-of-way. So that area that was there when it was appraised, when the appraisers came in for DOT, they said because it had no utility, it couldn't be used, it had no value, therefore we're not going to pay you for that.
So you're saying that the overlay is actually wider than the...
It was on Brawley School, Brawley School Road. It was a good bit wider.
Okay, you're saying that in those circumstances, the overlay was actually wider than the future right-of-way of the highway, thereby rendering that
Well, I don't think it was necessarily. I think they were on Brawley. I think it was actually even further than the future.
I believe it was. To achieve that part of what was trying to be accomplished at the time, yes, it would have been wider because you'd have to encompass whatever the 100 or 120 feet that Brawley was going to be.
Tonight we're voting to create one. We're not voting to approve one, correct?
I want to make sure of that.
This would be the approval. This would be the approval.
Okay, what would be the width of the overlay, Mr. Dodd?
The overlay, this overlay is a good bit different than the previous overlays.
Okay.
Previous overlays had the 200-foot buffer that basically followed the road. And the requirements on those overlays, I'm going to say there was 15 different requirements. Where this one, again, we've got the 3 requirements, and that's the only change. So any right-of-way issues, those are already addressed in our current code, if they're addressed at all. The only thing for tonight, and you can see the outline, these are all the parcels that would be affected. And again, it's just those three requirements are the only thing that are being proposed to be put in place tonight.
That's stormwater management, sidewalks, curb and guttering.
Correct.
But the overlay only is as wide as the necessary footage to do those three things.
Now, those
Am I
three
following
things,
that right?
those three things would apply in the total boundary that's shown in the attached map. It doesn't relate to the right-of-way.
This would be a totally different overlay than what Mr. Kinley is talking about. An overlay in a zoning ordinance basically is a level of zoning regulation, and it applies to various things based on how it's developed. And in this case, what Mr. Todd is describing, we're addressing curb and gutter, sidewalks, and things of that nature. The previous on Brawley and 150, those were roadway protection overlays. Okay. So that was entirely different.
Well, okay. Sir, if you wish to speak, you're going to have to come to the podium. Okay. Are you finished, Mr. Kinley?
Yeah, I think I'm satisfied. I mean, I just don't want this snuck in like it was before. And this is Mr. Robertson. He says that we're addressing part of this. You get part of it done, and then the next time they get a little more done, and there's no recourse. I don't want to get too far down this road. I want to be clear that I'm here to protect property owners that have been paying taxes on that. The right-of-way that's there is there. And I go along with adhering to a future right-of-way. If they decide that it's going to be 120 feet down there, there shouldn't be anything developed inside that 120 feet because it's going to be a problem. And the DOT is going to be buying buildings instead of land. And they're going to have to buy some buildings probably anyway, but not many on Cornelius Road. Right. But that's all. I want to make sure and be on the record that we're protecting property taxpayers.
Okay.
We don't do that a lot in this county. I like to see that done.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Well, every time we have a setback, we do any sort of zoning where we have setbacks, people aren't allowed to build on their setbacks, so this isn't a novel concept.
Yes, sir. State your name for the
Curtis
record.
Johnson. I live off of Silver Lining Road. When they first had us come downtown and talk to us about this, they talked about turnabouts, talked about that being a boulevard. And they also said that there were going to be bike lanes there with sidewalks and all this. So if there's going to be bike lanes, that means that it's going to be even wider. When they first started talking to us about this, we went online and I seen how it was laid out. Well, our homes are not there anymore. Our homes is showing that there's office spaces where our homes are going to be. We were told that Flex would be the one handling our side of the property where we at on Cornelius Road, and the city of Mocksville would have the part over next to the park. But now we're beginning to see that the city of Mocksville is beginning to kind of be in charge of a lot of things that's going on now. That's what's happening. And talking to a couple of the neighbors that live up there when they got ready to put the park in and Mocksville wanted to buy the property, they didn't offer them hardly anything for it. So I'm beginning to see some things that's just not lining up. Maybe, I don't know, maybe as time goes on, we asked the question, what if we don't want to sell? They said, well, if you don't want to sell, you're going to end up paying higher property taxes, and all this stuff was told to us years ago. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago. This was told to us. And now they're saying it's not going to happen. Well, I heard earlier on this side up here in Statesville, where the city county, they wanted to make your property commercial, or keep it residential, then once it was turned over to the city, they do what they want to do. And I'm kind of beginning to kind of get mixed emotions here now about this. And we would like to have this stuff kind of cleared up so we would know what we need to do, because, I mean, if they want us to buy a property, hey, we all may want to sell. And if we want to maybe add more to our homes or do something else to it, and what do we do? Because we've been on limbo for the last 5 years. We was told that we was going to eventually be out of there. So we don't know whether or not to go further with adding to our homes or whatever.
Hello, my name is Barbara Johnson, and I was wondering if I could get some minutes or something in reference to the meeting tonight, because we have people in the neighborhood that actually do not understand anything that's being said, or they're not able to attend the meeting. In fact, I am overjoyed well, actually, I'm kind of disappointed because we thought that this would be, done, but the projection is a little bit later on than what it is now. So my question is, do you plan to do this anytime soon, or is it projected for a later time? Or is the money financial situation the issue?
Ma'am, as far as the overlay, we had a joint meeting with Mocksville and worked out this agreement. And our plan was to have a public hearing tonight and take input, and perhaps from that public input maybe amend this agreement if necessary. Mm-hmm. But as far as the development along this corridor and the outlying areas, the marketplace is going to determine that.
Oh, I see.
Private business decisions between private individuals will determine who wants to sell their property, who wants to buy their property, and what goes where. What we're trying to do is, there's a lot of that area now that can be developed residentially by right that Mr. Todd referred to earlier. They don't have to come before the planning board or the board of commissioners. They can go buy a piece of property and they can develop it residentially.
Exactly.
What we're trying to do is to get ahead of residential area development in that area to protect this corridor, so that it won't be overwhelmed by traffic like 150 was.
Exactly.
So that we can maintain the integrity of a commercial corridor and have commercial development along that corridor that's going to help pay for some of the services needed by those folks living in those homes. Mm-hmm. We have to have commercial tax base in order to fund schools, parks and recreation, the library, and so forth. So we're trying to maintain the integrity of the corridor from a commercial or industrial development perspective is what we're trying to do.
Well, I can understand what you're trying to do, but I think your projection is kind of off. And I know you just said that, it depends on the situation of the monies, but we're in a situation now whereas around 6 o'clock in the afternoons, you might spend 15, 20 minutes trying to get out of Cornelius Road, and if something is going to be done, then I truly believe that, it should be done sooner, because the traffic is getting outrageous.
Yeah, I've been through there about that.
My other question was, could I get some minutes, for some of the people that couldn't attend the meeting, so that maybe somebody that's in the meeting could explain to them what some of the terms that you all have used tonight.
Okay. We can make the minutes of this meeting available to you. You can, we'll take a brief recess after this public hearing, and our clerk will be glad to give you her contact information. You can contact her as far as the minutes of this meeting.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. We got, start, if you want to speak, you need to come forward.
Jason Basinger.
Yes, sir.
I just know that several residents have not received actually the notification of this meeting tonight. We had a much more substantial turnout at the the planning meeting, and it was concerned about that. So perhaps tabling the decision until another meeting might be a good decision.
Okay.
How do you guys feel about that? Do you know of other residents that did not receive the notification of the meeting tonight? So we tried to share that. I just wanted to make that known because I'm representing two properties that were not, did not get notification of the meeting tonight, but I knew about it, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you again, sir. I have one other question. This gentleman just raised another concern of mine. I own a piece of property on Carney Road as well. The amount of footage of the overlay that this gentleman is asking for, does it exceed or does it not exceed the right-of-way? I didn't hear yes or no about that.
Can you address that, Mr. Todd?
The MGO that is being discussed tonight has nothing to do with the road improvements that are planned for Cornelius Road. It doesn't address the right-of-way for Cornelius Road. It only addresses 3 additional requirements. Nothing else is on the table for tonight. So I cannot say yes or no because it does not address right-of-way.
So the overlay could be anywhere from 5 to 110 feet. And
if you look here, sir, this is Cornelius Road.
Correct.
This outline, these parcels fall within the overlay. So some areas it is only a couple hundred feet. Up here, you're taking in that whole parcel.
Okay. All right. And my other question, I will revert back to you, Mr. Chairman. You said that you had talked to somebody about maybe the interchange on Cornelius Road being available when? Did you say 2000?
I'm always hesitant to say that because these things always depend on funding.
I understand.
But the message communicated to us in fairly strong terms was that they could get it in the planning phase and perhaps they could get it approved in the 2019 funding cycle.
Okay. Because I agree with this lady here. If you're out there on Cornelius Road trying to get out on Charlotte Highway, and when that Mazeppa Cornelius Road comes through, it's going to be a mess. So somebody, I know DOT needs to escalate the exit down there off of Cornelius Road, but it needs to be done sooner than later.
I agree.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, sir.
My name is Rodney Hooper, and I live on Silver Lining Road. I got one question. The 3 additional requirements, who would be required to pay for that? Curbs, sidewalks, and the storm drains.
The requirement for those would fall on the developer, whoever's developing the property.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Excuse me. Okay, is there anyone else?
My name is Jeannie Harrington. I live on Olympia Drive. And I'm just in general question about how this works because to me, make sure I'm looking at it right. So it cuts this neighborhood, correct? So how does that work when it cuts a neighborhood, say you have requirements on this side, and does it just fall off from, I'm just not familiar with the process.
If for developed parcels that already have houses on them, this really isn't going to impact those. So even though it cuts a subdivision in half, if that subdivision's already developed, even if it's a vacant lot, and they go to build a house on it, they're not going to be held to any of those three requirements. It's going to be really for the new development that comes in. So any of these tracts that aren't developed, if they decide to develop, then those three requirements come into place. So with the existing development in there, we had to connect it somewhere, and based on the parcels that are available, the connection was made to split that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? If not, we'll declare the public hearing closed and the floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to recommend in favor of the zoning map amendment and advise that it is consistent with the Iredell County 2030 Horizon Plan. It is reasonable and in the public interest due to being in harmony with the surrounding area, location of water and sewer in the area, and construction of the connector and the future interchange.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We'll take a 5-minute recess. Ms. Johnson, you can speak to Ms. Gaither, and she'll give you her contact information. Boards and commissions. The Charlotte Regional Partnership, we have one announcement. The Advisory Committee for Home and Community Care Block Grant, 2 announcements. Recreation Advisory Committee, 4 announcements. And the Zoning Board of Adjustment, 3 announcements. Appointments to boards and commissions. The Animal Grievance Committee, we have 1 appointment. The floor is open for nominations.
Nominate Mr. Hal Jolly.
Okay, are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I move we close the floor to nominations. Appoint Mr. Jolly by acclamation. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Any unfinished business to come to our attention? Public comment period. Has anybody signed up, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any new business?
I have a few comments, Chairman.
Yes, sir.
As everyone knows, tonight is my last night as stepping in for David Boone, and I wanted to thank all the commissioners who I've served with. It's been an honor to step in for David Boone. I had dinner with his dad, Vester, last night, and it meant a lot to me that he approved, the service and the job I've done. I want to also thank the staff for the job they've done. I think we have the best staff in any county around us. Thank my family. And I want to thank the citizens. Government is for, by, and of the people. And serving is to me like entering an address in a GPS. The GPS may give you multiple routes, but the destination remains the same. It doesn't make either route wrong, it makes them different. We all, as commissioners, care passionately about serving the citizens of Iredell County. We're not going to always agree 100% of the time. But that's okay. That's a democracy. We together do our best to make good objective decisions to positively impact the county with the facts at the time. Circumstances can and will always change the course we're on. Again, it's been a pleasure, and Lord willing, I'll run again in 2016. And hopefully we'll have the honor of serving the citizens again. I hope all of you have a happy and safe holiday season. May God bless each of you and your family.
Thank you, Mr. Happ.
Thank you.
Any other new business? County Manager's report.
2 things I want to bring to your attention. One is something we did, a unique exercise today at the EOC. We generally do disaster preparedness, winter storm planning exercises, but this year, instead of a winter storm, we actually took the time to do a practice Ebola outbreak. And, this is something that, has had a relatively small number of cases, or very small number of cases in this country, but has already cost a lot of money, and really a lot of money to the county. So we took the time to go through some scenarios today, and it was probably the best exercise we have ever had. It proved to me that we are much better prepared, and the state auditor said this as well, than a lot of counties, but there still are a lot of questions. But I want you to know and want the public to know that we are taking this seriously, and as we do any type of disaster or outbreak or things like that. Second thing I want to bring to your attention, since we have had such a long agenda, we've been pretty busy putting this together, but I do want to remind everyone, and we'll be getting this information out to you very soon, that our next meeting will be on Monday, December 1st, and then we'll have a regular meeting on December 2nd on Tuesday. But the agenda for the December 1st meeting, which is on a Monday, it will begin at 9 o'clock here in these chambers, and that will be the last meeting of the incumbent board, basically a house cleaning meeting. At 9:30, we'll have the oaths of office for the newly elected officials, and at 10 o'clock, we will have the first meeting of the new board, where officers will be elected and committee assignments will take place. So just a reminder, but we'll get more information out very soon. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. At this point, I would move we go into closed session under General Statute 143, 318, 11A4, Economic Development, and 143, 318, 11A5, Property Acquisition, and 143, 318, 11A6, Personnel. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman. Yeah, yes, sir. All right. I'll include the sale, possible sale of real estate. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Would you? You do that one, Morgan?
Yeah.
He's probably lurking around downstairs.
There will be some action taken as a result of our closed session. I'll offer the first motion, if that's pleasing to everyone. Offer a motion, we sell 220 Dingle Avenue, Mooresville, at a price of $27,500 to Mark and Rebecca Hill, according to General Statute 105-376C. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Oppose.
Motion carries 4-1. I believe Mr. Norman has a motion to offer.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion to amend an economic development incentive with Pate Dawson Company from $9 million to $7 million investment in Outer County. The incentive will be $134,241 over a 5-year period.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Robertson?
Make a motion to call for a public hearing on December 2nd at 7 p.m. regarding an economic development incentive of $24,328 over a 5-year period for Project Garlic based on a $3.3 million investment in Iredell County.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And
I want to make a motion to adjust the salary for the sheriff-elect Darren Campbell to grade 82, step 60, plus a county-issued vehicle to be effective upon his swearing in of his job.
okay, any discussion on that motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. There's no other business to come to our attention. I offer a motion that we recess until Monday, December 1st at 9 a.m. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.